What's going on, guys? My name is Ben. How are you guys doing today? What I have for you today in this video is I want to discuss an interesting situation right here. So, a couple weeks ago, Samsung announced the Galaxy Note 7, the 6th generation phone of the Note series, and I know they jumped from the Note 5 to the Note 7, so you might assume that's the 7th generation, but I did explain in that last video why they went with the Note 7, so technically that's still considered the 6th phone, at least from what I've seen in the lineup, unless if I'm wrong about it. I don't know. I don't know if they also count the Note Edge that was released with the Note 4. I would think that it'd be the 6th phone. Otherwise, if they did include the Note Edge, then that's understandable. Then that would be the 7th phone. But, you know, that's a whole different story. I mean, you can definitely check out my last video to find out all the details about that naming process. But what I want to discuss with you is the situation where Samsung announced a base phone, a base Note 7 in China to be released in China with 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage. Now, the one that we be getting in the US is the Note 7 with 4 gigs of RAM with 64 gigabytes of internal flash memory. Now, why is China getting 2 gigs more of RAM and then, you know, double the storage space? Well, the reason for this is because Samsung is trying to compete with a lot of the smartphone makers for China, where they're throwing in all this extra hardware, you know, and what it turned out to me was like, okay, some of these phones that are being released and sold in China are having dual SIM card slots, are having, you know, a mass amount of storage spaces, and you know, Samsung wanted to compete with that market, you know, taking a risk of disappointing and pretty much the rest of the consumers around the globe, like outside of China, even disappointing their own Korean customers, since Samsung was a Korean company. And you know, it is a little bit of a letdown, but we don't know if the US will be getting that version as well. And if we were to get it, then that basically gives us the option for 2 models if we wanted a 64 gigabyte version or 128 gigabyte version. And the 64 gigabyte will have 4 gigs of RAM while the other one has 6. And you know, I was trying to think, okay, what is it that someone would need 6 gigs of RAM for on a phone? And you know, the article that I read, which the link will be in the description below, was saying, you know, that they feel the customer will not even use up the 6 gigabytes of RAM. They just put it in there so it doesn't look like people were buying a cheap product in China. And another reason for why they're doing this is because there's a lot of marketing going on over there. Therefore, they're all everybody that's using their smartphones over there are utilizing a lot of storage space. And you know, you may be thinking, okay, well, what about us? You know, we market too on our phone. I don't know if marketing in China is a lot more drastic than it is than everyone else in the world, but you know, this is the reason why Samsung is doing this, and they're willing to take, you know, various opinions and you know, disappointments from consumers all around the globe, because what it appears is, you know, they take a look at the market in certain countries and see how they can compete with the smartphone makers in that particular country. So it looks like competition is different everywhere around the world. So, you know, I think that's what they're trying to base their sales off of, is, you know, competition in a particular country, and if it meets customer standards in that particular region. That's what I'm assuming. And what do I think about this? Well, I mean, I have no idea what to say about this. I mean, 128 gigabytes of storage would actually be very nice to have for internal flash memory. But, you know, I mean, they got rid of the 32 gigabytes of storage and put 64 gigabytes in there for the same price as the Note 5 when it was first released. And, you know, I betcha, because before, I remember they had like our the Note 4 I think just had a 32 gigabyte version. But you know, if you think about Apple, they used to have 16 gigabyte, 32 gigabyte, 64 gigabyte. Now they have 16 gigabyte, 64 gigabyte, and 128 gigabytes. Which me personally, I think they should have done away with the 16 gigabytes. So I guess, you know, Samsung can add another model to their lineup, kind of like how Apple has multiple lineups. You know, 16, 64, and then 128, and then Samsung can do 64 and 128, and you know, I'll be honest, the 128 gigabyte storage isn't a big concern for me because I can always pop in a micro SD card and just have the amount of storage that I need, because I don't think I'm going to need 128 gigabytes of storage for my internal memory on the phone. What I'm most concerned about is the micro SD expansion that I'm going to need to put all my media, all my pictures, my videos, my music, movies, if I ever put movies on there, you know, because I got a 64 gigabyte memory card or micro SD card in my Galaxy Note 4 with 32 gigabytes of internal storage on there, and you know, it can go up to 128 gigabytes of micro SD expansion, and I'm thinking that's the card I should have gotten before. And with the Note 7, I can go up to 256 gigabytes of storage. You know, that's very huge. For internal flash memory, I'm just going to need it for apps and then tweaks if I have to tweak my operating system a little bit. But I'm probably not going to use the whole 128 gigabytes of storage. So technically, this isn't a big letdown for me. But, you know, it's going to be a big letdown for everyone else. For whoever does a lot of marketing, whoever takes tons of pictures and records tons of video. I mean, I can imagine for YouTube vloggers out there, if they just use their cell phone to record themselves. You know, that I see where the situation plays in for disappointment. So what do you guys think about this? Do you guys think that, you know, everyone else should be getting the same models and the same capacity storages that Samsung is trying to sell, instead of trying to take a look at each market to see, okay, what's the requirement? Now, or do you guys feel like, okay, you know, this is fine, I mean, it's not really necessary? What I'm trying to get at is, do you feel like every country or everywhere in the world should be having the same configuration options, the same spec phones, other than the cellular radios, all over the world for the Note 7, so that way everyone's kind of equal? Or do you feel like it doesn't matter, as long as you get, you know, what you need, you're happy? I mean, leave a comment down below. Hopefully that made sense, and hopefully you guys can answer back. But thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe, rate, comment. Also check out the description below for my social media links, Twitter and Instagram. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.